What's up, everybody? I'm Dr. Zeb, and welcome to the Rehab Christian Center Tuesday night virtual experience. It's so good to be here with you tonight. Such an honor to be here with you. Valentine's Day. I'm certainly hopeful and prayerful that everybody has had an amazing day that has been filled with love and goodness. From whatever source you're receiving it from. I had people laughing at me today because I did put on our social media stories. If you have a Valentine, and you all have the ability to go out tonight, you should not be watching Life Study. All right. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I'm a different guy. I get it. I'm a different pastor. And some people love it. A lot of people hate it. But I'm okay just being who I've been called to be. And what I've been called to be is a pastor that is full of balance, wisdom, practical teaching, and balance. And so again, if you have a Valentine tonight and you're not working and they're not working and you're kid free, or even if you have kids and y'all are going to do something together, you should not be tuned in right now listening to me. In fact, I am expecting my numbers to be very low tonight. I don't even mind if people go back and watch the replay later. It is so important that you live a balanced life. That's so critically important. In fact, Jesus even said that I come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. It was actually his desire for all of us to not just live a life, but to live an abundant life. And that part of living an abundant life is living a balanced life. And so it is certainly my hope and prayer again that you have a tremendous, in the words of Kiana, you've had a tremendous love day wherever you are. But more than that, if you have an opportunity to enjoy this evening with those you do love, do that. All right, do that and celebrate your loved ones. And you're going to be glad that you did. I certainly am thankful for all of you that have tuned in, that have joined in, those that may be on the way. But again, those are even that are watching the replay tonight or tomorrow, whenever you're watching it. Thank you so much for checking out this replay. Got an incredible word, part 2 of Sunday tonight that we're going to teach. You need a break. It's been an incredible series. Love and Relationships has been an incredible series so far. And we're just on the second week. We've got 2 more weeks to go. It is the month of February, so it's the shortest month of the year. And so this series goes by incredibly fast. It's so much content to get out to you in such a short period of time. But we're going to work hard to make sure that we give you everything that we believe you need that's going to help to empower your life. And so, again, I'm just grateful for all of you, your presence wherever you are, and thankful for you being a part of this broadcast and tuning in. Listen, we're on all of our networks tonight. We're on Facebook at the Rehab Christian Center. We're on Instagram at theREHABexperience. And we are on YouTube at TheREHABCC. We're on all of our networks tonight. And so I don't care where you're tuning in from. I want you to say good evening in the chat area if you have not already. For those of you that are watching live, and even those that might be watching the replay that have chatting capabilities, make sure you do that. Leave a comment on this broadcast. Let us know that it has been a blessing to you, and we will certainly be grateful to God for you. Now, I want to get right into it. I'm not going to waste time because, again, I'm not expecting a lot of people to tune in. Y'all are obedient, and I appreciate your obedience. Again, call it crazy. I just believe people should really enjoy themselves here on earth, and church should not be, you should not be going on first dates at church. I'm sorry. I'm just old-fashioned in that regard. Church is not a date. It's not. It's great to go to church with your spouse or whoever you're connected to or seeing or dating. It's nothing at all wrong with that. Going to church together, but that is not a date. And so we've got to stop over spiritualizing everything. Yes, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty to God through the pulling down of strongholds. There are some battles we fight that are spiritual, but everything ain't spiritual. And so I am just honored to be honest with you. I'm actually proud to see the numbers low tonight because I know many of you saw the stories today, saw the numbers on that. You all saw it, and hopefully you took heed, and you're out enjoying yourself. And by the time you're watching this, you're hopefully watching the replay. Okay. So again, thank you so much. If you are tuned in, I appreciate you. I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. Doesn't mean you don't have a Valentine if you're not tuned in. So we're not We're not making assumptions that if you're tuned in, you don't have a Valentine. That's not what we're thinking. You may have a Valentine. Your Valentine might be working. You might be working. Who knows? But nevertheless, I'm just grateful that you tuned in tonight and did not have a problem with me not counseling life study, because I wanted to continue on through this month as much as we can uh, to get this information. As y'all can hear, I'm tired to get this information out to you. All right, so let's continue. Where's my stuff? There it is. You need a break, part two. All right, you need a break, part two. I want you to type that in the comments tonight. Those of you that are tuned in, you need a break. Part two is what we're going to deal with tonight. And I got a feeling, y'all. I got a feeling this is going to be an incredible night. I do. And if you've been around me for any significant period of time, you know that I teach regardless. And so I'm really looking forward to just looking in this camera tonight, these cameras, and really just sharing with you what God has given me as it relates to this particular series. Now, remember, we talked Sunday about Ruth, Naomi, Boaz, and Ruth chapter, I think chapters, I think it was 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. And it's just an incredible book. If you have not already, read those chapters this week and go ahead and read chapter number 3. Because some significant things happen in chapter 3 when Boaz and Ruth actually get together, and so many significant lessons there. But I want to pick up where we left off, because we were talking about our response to pain being an indication of where and who you are and where you are. And I made it clear Sunday, and I want to say this again tonight, that really I can tell by how you respond to pain whether or not you are prepared to date, to be in relationships, to be in love, to be in connections or friendships with others. And I think this is a valid point. Somebody sent me a message this morning and talked about, it was a really good message, and talked about how they were raised where Valentine's Day wasn't just a holiday for lovers, but it was really an opportunity to honor anybody you're connected to. And that's the way I was raised. My father and mother certainly raised us that way, and to this day still send us, we're full and grown, candy and all of those things. But the larger lesson has always been, you honor anybody that's in your life that you're connected to or in relationship with, whether that relationship's friendship, platonic, romantic, whatever. It's about honoring people, and not just on a day, but all the time. But our response to pain gives us an indication of if we are prepared to be in that space. And I'm here to tell you, many of you, as I stated Sunday, and we'll reiterate again tonight, sometimes your best response to pain is to take a step back and to take a break. All right. And we left off with that Sunday. And I want to just reiterate that before we move forward tonight. When things happen to you, when life starts lifing, and we're going to talk about that tonight, when life starts lifing and things start happening to you, our natural inclination is to react or to respond, when sometimes the best thing to do is to pause, take a step back, and then ultimately take a break, right? To give the situation, give you a break so that you can regather yourself and be able to move forward in a way that is as healthy and as whole as possible. It's my goal for 2023 for all of you that as you pursue your careers, as you pursue friendships, as you pursue relationships, as you pursue any types of connections or advancement of any sort, that you would do so as healthy and as whole as possible. If you're not healthy, if you're not whole, you don't really need to pursue anything. I'm going to say that again. If you are not healthy or whole, you don't need to pursue anything. Would you record that? Those of you that are tuned in, I may not ask you all to record a lot of notes tonight. No, it's not a lot of us tuned in live, but I do want to try to record some notes tonight for those that are watching the replay. Again, record this. If you are not healthy or whole, you don't need to pursue anything. And I mean that, not just relationships and connections with people. You don't need to pursue that new job. Listen, if the job you're working right now has scarred you so much, what's our natural inclination? Our natural inclination is, well, this job hurt me. Let me get out of here and go get me another job. Well, getting another job will get you out of that environment, but getting out of that environment won't necessarily heal you. You can leave a toxic or bad environment and get into a new environment. But if you have not healed from the toxic environment or the bad environment, you're going to go into a brand new, great environment, but you're going to go in scarred. You're going to go in wounded. And so leaving a bad job just to get into a better job doesn't cure the problem. What you have to do is seek to be healthy and whole in those things that scarred you in the old position, so that when you get in the new career, you don't bring to the new position old baggage. And I said it on a video I posted today. Many people claim to really want this conversation about celibacy and really just taking a break. But hear what I'm saying. If we don't heal, come out of situations healthy and whole, we will transfer trauma from one situation to another, right? Whether that's a relationship, friendship, job, career change, whatever. Family dynamics, it doesn't matter. Marriage dynamics, you can come out of one marriage and get in another one. But if you don't heal from the first one, you're going to bring the same drama from the first marriage into the second marriage. And so being healthy and healed and whole is critical. It is so important in our ability to not only be able to process what it is that has happened to us, but to ensure that if we then advance other things in our lives, if we advance towards new relationships, new friendships, new careers, new jobs, whatever. As we advance to those things, we do them as healthy and as whole as possible. So we are not transferring trauma from one person to another, from one situation to another. We got to stop this, y'all. All right. And so it's so important that, again, when things don't go well, sometimes the best response is to take a step back and to take a break. And this is what I'm offering to all of you, especially those of you that are in heartbreak season. I've been through that. I know what that's like, where you're in heartbreak break season, and there's a natural inclination to fix or cure pain by attaching or connecting to somebody else. I'm here to tell you, the best thing to do is to pause, take a step back, and take a break. It is. Some of you need to go back and apologize to everybody you tried to holler at while you were hurt. I'm going to say this slow. I feel like teaching tonight. Some of you need to go back in the DMs where you left and apologize to the people you tried to holler at while you were hurt, because you didn't even realize it at the time, that while you thought you were doing something productive that was going to help you heal and get better or help you move forward, what you were doing was interfering with your ability to be healthy, healed, and whole. And so you don't become healthy, healed, and whole by connecting to somebody else. You become healthy, healed, and whole by taking a step back and taking a breather so that you can recover and recoup. Okay. So, we went over the story Sunday, and I want to just reiterate this really quickly. As you will recall, Naomi and Ruth, things happened. Naomi lost her husband. Then she lost her two sons, and one of those sons happened to be married to Ruth. So Ruth lost a husband. Naomi lost two sons. And so this all happens in Ruth chapter number 1. And life just started lifing, right? They ended up having to leave their town. They were going back. Orpah, the other daughter who was married to Naomi's other son that died, decided to go her own way. Ruth said, listen, I'm sticking with you, Naomi. I'm not going to go anywhere else. And in the process of doing that, life was lifing until they end up in the field of a man by the name of Boaz, who sees Ruth working and then begins to attach himself to her. Now, Naomi and Ruth did 3 things when life started lifing. And I want to give this to you tonight. I'm going to give you a lot. I've got a lot of notes to cover. And so give me about 20, 25 minutes. I really want to take my time tonight for those of you that are tuned in. And the good news part about not having a lot of people tune in tonight is I can take my time. They can watch the replay. All right. But when life started lifing, Naomi and Ruth did 3 things. And I want to give you these 3 things because if you just live for a little while, not just in relationships and connections to people, but as it comes to your health and as it comes to your career, as it comes to your finances, as it comes to your family, doesn't matter what it is, you're going to reach a moment where life starts lifing, where life starts doing some unpredictable things that you did not see coming. And your response is going to determine how long you end up staying in those lifing situations, or when you will be able to progress beyond them because you have learned the lessons that life has presented to you. All right. And so Naomi and Ruth did 3 things when life started lifing. And I want to give this to you because when life starts lifing, there are 3 things you got to do. All right. Are you ready? Number 1, they grieved. All right. So when life started lifing, Naomi and Ruth, they grieved. All right. Grieved. I get this question a lot. All right. And this is the first time I want y'all to record this. When life starts lifing, you need to do 3 things. Number 1, grieve. Why is grieving important? Well, notice when it happened, the Bible says that Naomi not only grieved so much, she was so frustrated that she told her daughters-in-law, just go on about your way, go find you another husband, don't worry about me. She really got to a point where she did not want to be bothered with anybody. I think we really underestimate the power of grieving. And I'm here to tell you, you cannot be healthy and whole in relationship, in connection with others, until you take a moment to grieve what has happened in the past. Now, I get this question a lot in counseling and coaching. Dr. Zeb, how long should the grieving process be? I don't know. I've heard a lot of different formulas. I've heard people say that if you've been connected to situations for every year you've been connected to situations, that equates to 3 months of grieving. I don't know how they came up with that formula, but if you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense, right? I'm not saying this is the right formula. I'm just telling you something that I actually heard another counselor suggest, and I thought it was interesting, right? For every year you've been involved in something that falls apart, right? Whether it's a relationship or job loss, whatever, for every year you've been involved, you need at least 3 months to grieve. So if we're talking relationships, if you've been in a relationship for at least a year, then you need at least 3 months to grieve that year, which means if you've been if that formula is true, if you've been in 1 month per year, depends. And again, I don't want to say it's not enough, because again, I think this is really good. I'm not really in a position to tell people how long to grieve, because one thing I don't do, I don't believe in telling people A, how long to grieve, and B, how to grieve, because nobody's experiencing the pain but you, right? And I've also discovered in my work that people have a different tolerance level for pain. Some of you, if you just see a needle at a doctor's office, you start crying. Others of us can take shots like it's nothing, right? So people have different tolerances for pain. And so I can't really say how long. 1 month per year could work for some people who are more healthy and more whole, and they can move faster and move beyond and quicker. But I'm going to tell you this. I think that 3 months per year of being involved in anything is pretty accurate for people who are not healthy and whole. Especially now, if you're healthy and whole, 30 days for every year might be enough, right? So if you've been involved with something for 5 years, then probably 5 times a month, 5 months might be enough for 5 years, right? But if you're not healthy and whole, and you come out of something for 5 years, you've been in it for 5 years, and you're not whole, you're not healthy, you haven't focused on yourself and self-love, you come out of that. That's 3 years per 5 years. That's 15 months. That's about a year and 3 months. That's about right. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Doc, you telling me that when I come out of something for 5 years, I really need about a year and 3 months off? Yes, I'm saying that, especially if you're not healthy, if you're not whole, if you're not together. I believe that without a doubt, because you need the period of time to mend what's been broken, but more than that, to repair yourself so that you can be prepared for whatever is next in your life. Okay. And so they do 3 things when life starts lifing. They grieve, right? And what I love about the story is that Ruth never questions Naomi and how she grieves. Never calls her crazy for grieving, but Ruth gives Naomi the space to grieve the loss. And I think this is a great life lesson that all of us can take from this, right? If you've ever experienced pain or heartbreak or brokenness, you've got to give yourself the space to grieve the loss, right? I want you to record this. Give yourself the space to grieve the loss. Wow, Pastor, that means that this is the time. It could be for many of you. It could be, right? But you got to give yourself the space to grieve the loss. If you've experienced pain, if you've experienced hurt, relationship loss, whatever, you've got to give yourself the space and the grace. Let's make it rhyme. You got to give yourself the space and the grace to heal the loss, right? To grieve the loss. All right. And so I like that. Here's the second thing that Naomi did. Thank you, V. I see you all are recording notes. I really appreciate it. Again, low numbers tonight. It's okay. I hope folks are really Valentining tonight. I meant what I said. You better not be tuned in with your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend watching this broadcast when y'all could be eating or talking to each other. I mean that. In fact, if you are, I'm cursing you right now. Go enjoy yourself. All right. The second thing they do when life starts lifing is this. They returned to home. Right? So the Bible says that they first grieved, and then Naomi said, listen, we're going back home from where we came from. All right? So they returned back home. What is that symbolic of? It is symbolic or significant of them returning to themselves. Naomi and Ruth going back to their hometown is significant of them returning to themselves. So when life happens to you, the first thing you need to do is grieve. The second thing you need to do is work on returning to yourself, which means, this is so good, y'all, which means get back to doing those things that made you who you are before the hurt, that made you who you are before the pain, that made you who you are before the disappointment. See, what tends to happen is when we get connected with things or people that hurt us, we in the process lose the identity of who we are. I think one of the most telling things that I've ever heard in this space is that somebody said to me, Zeb, I don't even recognize who you are anymore. And when I heard that, it was a reminder that pain and hurt and grief had gotten the best of me. And it caused me to forget my identity and remember who I was. And so when you are going through this, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to grieve. The second thing you've got to do is you've got to return back to home or return to yourself. Get back to the things that define your purpose. See, and y'all ain't gonna tell the truth, but when many of you get in love, you completely forget about your purpose. You was focused, you was disciplined, and then you met Johnny, and you stopped working out, you stopped taking care of yourself, you stopped being focused, you stopped being disciplined, because all of your focus, all of your effort, all of your attention, all of your daydreams, all of your thinking was in one direction or one purpose. And so when that direction or purpose falls apart, then your identity goes with it, right? So they give us an incredible prescription here, and that is grieve and then return back to yourself. All right. Here's the third thing that you've got to do. After they grieved, after they returned to themselves, the Bible says that the third thing they did is they went back to work. All right. Y'all listen to me. The third thing they did, I want you to record this, is you need to go back to work. 1, grieve. 2, return to home. 3, go back to work. Meaning, don't just sit around. Find something to do to occupy your time, not to take your mind off of a situation per se, but to get your mind focused back on the grind that is connected to your purpose, that is connecting to the calling that's on your life. Get back to work, right? And this is the dangerous thing about, especially the beginning of the year. You know, research tells us this, that so many people really struggle with depression and high anxiety at the end of every year and at the beginning of every year because of things like pain, disappointment, loss, people not being around, loved ones being deceased that are not around, that are not in to bring in the new year or there to bring out an old year, or breakups or things like that. And I'm telling you, while that's natural and normal, you've got to get to the place where you try to return back to work so you can return back to yourself, right? Because the Bible says that they not only return back home, but when they get there, it says that Ruth gets up the next morning and says, listen, I'm going out to this field. I don't even know who it belongs to, but I'm about to get out here and work and find us some food so we can have harvest and grain. And I can bring it back and we can just get back to normal. All right. And that's the thing that you've got to strive for if you've experienced pain or hurt or disappointment in your life. All right. Again, when life starts lifing, take a moment, breathe, take a step back, and do these 3 things. You got to grieve, you got to return back home, and you got to get back to work. All right. Now, I want to say this to you. I want you to record this note right now. Whether life is good or not, you should always be working on yourself. Record this. Whether life is good or not, you should always be working on yourself. Record it. Whether life is good or not, you should always be working on yourself. Doesn't matter how good life is, or even if life is bad, regardless of whether or not life is good or bad, you should always be working on yourself. A friend of mine and I were laughing and talking about this. It's so sad. And I'll admit this transparently. I didn't go. You all have heard me share this story. I did not go to therapy for the first time until 2.5 years ago when the pandemic first started. And I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I told my friend, well, a friend of mine, he and I were laughing and talking about this. I don't even know if I would have ever gone to a therapist if the pandemic never hit. Because the pandemic never hit, maybe some other things would have never happened either. And I think it took lifing for me to get to a point where I recognized the value of therapy. And then once I did that, I recognized the value of working on myself. And now there ain't a day that goes by that I don't commit some time to work on myself, whether that's just obviously that's still pray, but just whether that's meditating or whether that is recording in my journal, things like that. And see what happens with us is with many people, when life starts lifing, that's the only time you work on you, right? It's almost like this prayer syndrome where people don't really pray until things get bad. People don't really, go after God or seek God until things really get in bad condition. Then all of a sudden you pray, sackcloth, ashes, you got sage blowing in your house, you got all this stuff going on. When honestly, you're going to know you're healthy and whole when you're working on yourself, whether things are good or bad. And that's what I need to lift up to you, because if you make working on yourself a consistent part of your daily routine, when life happens, when disappointment happens, if you get broke up with, if you lose a loved one, if a relationship falls apart, right? Since we're talking about that this month, whatever, if those things happen, it doesn't mean it won't hurt. But hear me, you will not be in a position where you're starting from scratch if you make working on yourself a part of your regular experience. If you make working on yourself, y'all, I need y'all to remember this. This is good. If you make working on yourself a part of your regular experience, when life starts lifing, you don't start from scratch, you start from experience. The only way you start from experience when life starts lifing is when you have made a commitment to yourself every single day to work on yourself. So I need y'all to think about this. I don't know how you're going to do it. Maybe for you it's meditation like me. Maybe it's journaling like I do. It's rare. Some days, granted, here recently, the last couple of weeks, I've been so busy, I've actually ran out of the house and left my journal, the one that I carry with me, upstairs, and got to work and opened my bag and realized it was still sitting here under my dresser. But it didn't throw off my day because I'm in such a routine of working on myself that I could even miss a week and it's not going to throw me off, because my spirit and my mindset, my energy is really in a place of honoring the power of working on myself daily. There ain't a day during the week, especially. I don't do a lot on Saturdays, some Sundays, but there ain't a day Monday through Friday where I don't every single day write out 5 things I'm grateful for. Write out declarations as it relates to my life and the things I expect from my life, not only right now, but in the future to come, right? I've just made working on myself a part of my daily routine. And so now when bad things happen, and bad things still happen, they still happen, all of us. When bad things happen, though, now the difference is when life lifes, I don't feel like I'm starting from scratch. Right? I don't feel like I'm starting from the bottom when life lifes. When life starts lifing, I'm starting from experience. Wait a minute, I've seen disappointment before, and this is what I need to do. I need to just continue to work on myself, building myself like I've been doing. And I want to lift up all of that to all of you, because I think this story of Naomi and Ruth really highlights something that I don't want any of us to forget. And that is, you got to make working on yourself a part of your daily routine, whether life is good or bad, right? Because what tends to happen is when people gain things or when people achieve things, they become complacent, they become relaxed, right? When folks get money, they get comfortable, they stop working out, right? Or many of you have done this in relationships where, you spend all this time in the gym and eating right, and then you get somebody, and all you want to do is lay up Netflix and chill. And before you know it, 2 months have gone by and you've added 15 pounds because you don't work out anymore. You don't have the discipline to get up in the morning because you're in love. And it's nothing wrong with being in love. It's nothing wrong with those things. But you've got to maintain the same energy when it comes to taking care of yourself when things are good or things are bad. We cannot get inconsistent in that space, right? Because I believe this, that God honors consistency so much so that he will bless your life in good seasons or bad seasons when you show up regardless. Will y'all record that? God will bless your life in good seasons or bad seasons when you show up regardless. Are y'all listening to me? God will bless your life in good seasons or bad seasons when you show up regardless. I live this, y'all. I ain't telling you something I have not lived. I live this. I watched my life over the last 2.5 years really go through some bumpy roads, personal life, ministry, all kinds of things. But you know what? I kept showing up. And as I kept showing up, things started turning, and they are turning and moving, and momentum is building in places, and people are returning calls, and things are happening and moving in the background. And I'm here to tell you, it is not because I've been so wonderful. It's because that regardless of the season that I'm in, good or bad, I made a conscious decision to show up. And I'm here to tell you, the formula to surviving when life starts lifing is, regardless of the season being good or bad, you got to show up. You can't get blessed and get complacent. You can't, go through a hard time and beat up yourself so bad that you just want to lay in front of on the couch and watch Lifetime and eat Ben and Jerry's for hours. You got to remain consistent when life lives, so that, again, you don't start from the bottom. You start from experience. And this is the quickest way to lose who you are. It's the quickest way to lose what you have. When you become complacent, it's the quickest way to lose who you are, and it's the quickest way to lose what you have, right? When you allow bad seasons to get the best of you, it is the quickest way to lose who you are, and it's the quickest way to lose what you have. And Ruth understood that. They had been grieving over Naomi's husband, over the loss of her sons, which happened. One of them happened to be Ruth's husband. They had been grieving over this, but Naomi got back to work. When they got back home, she went right back to the field to work, because she understood that they had a choice to make. They could either stay in grief and stay in that pain and waddle in that pain, or they could get up and proceed forward so that they would not have to start from scratch. They could start from experience. Okay. So every single day, whether life is good or bad, you ought to be working on yourself. Now, here are two things. I'm giving y'all a lot, y'all. I'm almost there, but there are two things, more things I got to give you. Number one, there are two things you need to focus on improving. All right. Every single day. Is this making sense, y'all? If it is, fill it up with hearts. So good to just see the handful of you all on tonight. Again, I'm just making my announcement every 5-7 minutes. If you got a Valentine and y'all are sitting here watching broadcast together, this is not a date. Cut off the broadcast. All right. I mean it. You should not be watching this broadcast if you have a date tonight. You should not be watching this broadcast with your date and y'all are free to eat or whatever. Go eat, watch the replay. Pastor believes in balance. Flights, boats, vacations, and dates. All right. All right. So when life happens, you have to focus on, while you're working on yourself, you need to focus on improving two things, right? Every single day, you should be focusing on improving two things. Number one, you should focus on improving yourself, right? We talked about that, right? So when life happens, number one, you should be focusing on improving, number one, yourself. All right. We've already gone through that. And the second thing you should be working to improve on, and this is where I'm going to lose some of you, you should be working to improve your choices. Listen to me. You should be working to improve yourself. You should be working to improve your choices. Now, this is good, because if most of us would be honest, a lot of the things in our lives that brought us the deepest pain and that were representative of repetitive pain, listen to me, were often the reflection of bad choices. Listen to me. Many of the things in your life that have brought you the deepest pain or repetitive pain, especially as it relates to love and relationships, oftentimes are the pure reflection of bad choices. Now it's going to take a lot of God for many of you to admit this and say amen, but listen to me. Sometimes life is lifing, and sometimes you just making bad choices. Because remember, and I said this Sunday, Ruth lost her husband. Ruth could have turned around and got under the next dude in the field that tried to hit at her and holler at her. But she made her business and her purpose her focus instead of getting under somebody else to get over somebody else. And I can't tell you the number of people I've counseled and coached who have said to me on these calls, Dr. Talley, Pastor, I'm really struggling. I had went through this breakup a month ago, but right now I'm really struggling because it's showing up in my new relationship. And I'm like, what? Showing up in your new what? You're telling me that you had a breakup a month ago and you struggling because your breakup from a month ago is showing up in your new relationship? You have no business being in one. Why are you already in a relationship 4 or 5 weeks after the fact? And this is a reflection of the need for people to focus on improving your choices. The only way, y'all, you're going to see better choices or better results. Y'all ain't going to like what I'm going to say, but the only way some of you are going to see better results in love and relationships in your life is if you start making better choices. You have to start. I know it ain't deep. I didn't ask you to speak in tongues and to twirl around and fall on the floor. I'm saying to you in plain English, if you want to see things turn differently in love and relationships, start making better choices. Because at the end of the day, many of you are going through cycles of dysfunction, not because you bad people, but because you are poor decision makers. And when you are a poor decision maker, especially in the areas of love and relationship, friendship, because friendships count too. Some people have historically made bad choices of friends. Like you always pick the worst people to be your friends, and you deal with the same friendship drama over and over and over again, regardless of who you've chosen to be friends. And the common denominator is you. It's who you're choosing. I know this is harsh, y'all, but just hear me out. You've got to ask God to help with your decision making so you can make better choices, because that's going to cure 80% of your love and relationship challenges. It is making better choices, right? And I get it. Let me offer this to you, right? Because every day you're going to be focusing on improving yourself. You're going to be focusing, this is so good, on improving your choices. But let me just say this. And the thing that's going to fight you is this. What's going to fight you is that most of us are naturally, this is where it's going to get good, if it hasn't been good to you already. Most of us are fighting against what we are naturally attached to, or what we are naturally maybe attracted to. Give me a moment here. Let me say this. I teach a lot of classes. I do a lot of organizational development work. I help organizations with their talent and, teaching things that impact culture and workplace climate and stuff like that. Do a lot of different things like work like that in my consulting and coaching work. A lot of training, workshops, presentations, things like that along those lines. And let me say this to you, y'all. When I do workshops on things like biases, and I want to talk about biases because I think there's nothing more disheartening than to be in a workshop. If you've ever been in a workshop where they talk about biases, it's crazy to hear people say stuff like, I don't have any biases or I don't have any prejudices, because that's not true. Everybody has biases. Everybody has prejudices, whether you admit it or not, whether you recognize it or not. We all have things that we lean toward, that we gravitate toward. And when you gravitate towards one thing over something else, you have a bias. Listen to me, I'm going to just break this down. You have a bias toward that thing. And we all have them. I prefer certain types of ice cream, right? I prefer certain types of food. I think I saw Sister Bunch on the broadcast. I thought about you the other night, Sister Bunch, because I saw a reel where somebody made, man, it looked good. It was a salmon casserole, and the salmon was wrapped up in like lasagna rolls, and it had tomatoes and all this stuff. And then on the outside, it had, what's that stuff y'all eat? That white sauce, Alfredo sauce. on the outside. And I thought about Sister Bunch, how she tricked me one time to eating into eating Alfredo sauce, and it didn't look like Alfredo, and I ate it. It was great. And then she gonna tell me after the fact that it was, and I was so fired up. But I saw that thing, that reel, and they made it with Alfredo sauce, and it looked amazing. There she is. Yeah, it was Alfredo, and it looked amazing. But that's not a preference of mine. And and we do eat. But it's okay if you have a bias towards certain things. Y'all, let me just say this. I don't want to get in trouble here, but let me just say this. Y'all, when it comes to love and relationships, watch your biases. I don't want to lose y'all. Don't log off now. Y'all give me 10 more minutes, I'm going to be done. When it comes to love and relationships, be careful with biases. Now, I hear some of you in the spirit, but Doc, I gotta have him. He gotta be at least 6 foot. I don't date men. That's yeah, Kiana, I'm coming now. Pastor, he gotta be at least 6 foot. I can't date nobody under 5'10". He gotta have at least a beard. He gotta have all of this stuff. He gotta be this. He gotta be, he's gotta be a 6'6" guy. 6 foot, 6 figures, and y'all know the other 6. You gotta have all of this stuff, right? And these are all these biases. And meanwhile, you end up setting in your mind that your blessing, when it comes to who you're going to connect with, has to be in this certain lane or in this certain vein. And there's Johnny over there who's 5'7". Johnny makes great money. He's responsible. He's respectful. He loves God. He respects you. And because he doesn't fit your bias, you look over the potential with him. Fellas, we have a habit of doing the same thing. She got to be at least this. She got to look like this. She got to have this kind of complexion. She got to have this. And I'm just telling you, those biases can cause you to miss what it is that you not only want for your life, but frankly, what it is that you need for your life. But I get it. We're all naturally attached to what we like. Listen to me. We're all naturally attached. I just want him to be a man that likes women. Oh, God, not today, Kiana. I can't do that today. You'll start me down a bunny hole. We are all naturally attached to what we like and what we are used to. That's natural, right? So you will find yourself forming biases in your life based on what you like and based on what you are used to. But just because you like it, listen to me, and just because you're used to it, doesn't mean that's what you gotta have. I want to say that again. Y'all need to write that. That's a mouthful, but I want to say it again. Just because you like it, and just because that's what you're used to, it does not mean that's what you have to have. And that's where we mess up. We think that because we like something, I know I'm getting in trouble here. We think that because we like something, or because we are used to having something or somebody in a certain kind of way, that's all we should have. And I appreciate you, V, being honest. You're the only one honest enough to admit it. Because y'all got these lists. You got your journal, and you make this list of 80 qualities that he got to have. And you be meeting folk, and you got your book like this, and you're checking stuff off. And I'm not saying don't make a list. Bible says write the vision, make it plain. We can see that list as almost like a vision. I don't have an issue with that. But what I am saying to you is don't be so stuck on how you think it ought to be that you mess around and end up missing what it might be that might end up blessing you in a way that you never saw. And the best example I can give to y'all of this is Revenge of the Nerds. I'm going to show my age. There was a movie series back in the day when I was a kid called Revenge of the Nerds, right? So you got to be a Gen Xer like me to know what I'm talking about. But Revenge of the Nerds was a movie. I think they had like 3 of them. And that was a good series. I don't know if y'all remember Police Academy. Police Academy used to be a really good movie series as well. But Revenge of the Nerds was one of my favorite movies. I'll tell you why. The reason one of my favorite movies is because I was a nerd. I grew up as a nerd. in school. I'm still a nerd. I love being a nerd. All right. And nerds back then weren't popular. It was nothing popular about being a nerd back in my day. When you were a nerd, you were a nerd. And you didn't get any attention. You didn't get the girls if you was a guy. If you was a female, the guys didn't really pay attention to you because you was boring to them, right? Like it wasn't cool back then to be a nerd. It's cool today to be a nerd. And I think most of that has to do with social media, really, making that, popularizing that. But it wasn't cool back then to be a nerd. And what did some of y'all do? Some of y'all had nerds. Now, y'all ain't going to say, man, I'm going to lose half of you here. Some of y'all, when you was in 3rd grade and your nose was runny and snotty, and you had that old ball on the top of your head, ladies, or fellas, you had the old S-curl, Jerry curl on your head. Some of y'all had nerds who really liked y'all. But because you was the hot stuff, you gave them no attention. You paid them no mind. They weren't the star athlete. They wasn't the star quarterback. They couldn't sing. They didn't dress nice. They didn't do it. Now they made great grades. They were smart. They were top of the class, but they didn't have all of the other features, things you naturally like that you check off on. They didn't have that stuff. And what did you do? You passed over. Then fast forward 20 years later. 20 years later, that same nerd that you overlooked now got businesses, got multiple streams of income. He and she, I ain't talking about just guys, got business, multiple streams of income, doing all of this stuff. And you pass them over because at the time, they weren't what you were naturally into, what you naturally like, what you naturally are used to. And that alone should be proof that you should never determine what God has for you based solely on what you like. I know this is a lot for many of you to hear because it sounds like I'm telling you to take what you like and throw it in the trash. And I'm not. Okay. I'm not telling you to take what you like and throw it in the trash. What I am saying to you is you shouldn't be so married to what you like or to the ideas you like or the plans you like or the types of people you like. You shouldn't be so married to that you become closed-minded to God blessing you with what you like, but in another form. To God blessing you with what you like, but in another package. Right? We've got to be careful there, or else you'll throw the nerd away. Look up 10 years later, the nerd has blossomed and he or she is successful. And there you are, still stuck on looking for your preferences, and time has passed you by. Okay, so we got to be careful with that, right? And so I want to lift this up to you. It's clear that when Ruth, this is the last thing I want to share with you. Give me 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'm done. It's clear that when Ruth gets in this field and meets Boaz, when Boaz starts talking to her, look, where are you from? She says it. Says, listen, I asked my men about you, and I told my men not to bother you. I told them to let you work and get whatever you need out of this field to do what it is that you need to do. And I have already told them not to bother you. And it was clear by Ruth's response to Boaz that she had never had a man like him. I'm coming to your question, Kiana. I just saw this here. But Pastor, are you saying we should love like with our minds and not our hearts? No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you shouldn't love with just your mind and not your heart at all. I think you can love with both your mind and your heart. I think you can love with both your mind and your heart. Remember, we talked about alignment. We've been dealing with alignment for a couple of weeks where we talked about how the mind, body, and spirit need to be aligned, right? I think you should love people with your mind, body, and spirit, right? But the thing is, your mind, body, and spirit need to be aligned, and they need to be healthy so that when you love people with those 3 things, you don't give too much weight to one thing that you and don't give enough weight to the other things. What tends to happen is we love people heavily with our mind, but not as heavy with our heart and our body, or heavily with our heart, but not as much with our mind or our body, or heavy with our body, but not enough with our mind and our spirit, right? And so it's got to be balanced Because if it's not, I think I saw somebody, yeah, I see the word balance. If it's not balanced, if how you're loving people is not balanced, depending on what is the strongest will determine the outcome. And this is the easiest way I can describe it. Let's just deal with that, right? Good. I see this is making sense to you all. Let's just deal with that really quickly, because it totally connects into what I was going to say to you. And that is, many of you just need to try something different. Ruth was clear when she talked to Boaz. It was clear to her and apparent to her, she had never been around a man like Boaz. Not even her husband was like Boaz, right? And she wasn't disrespectful regarding her husband, but you could tell from her conversation with Boaz that she was thrown, and how she comes back and tells Naomi, listen, I met this man and he was saying, this is ain't child. I ain't never like I'm adding that in the story. Child, I ain't never heard no man talk like that and protect me like that and make sure I'm safe. Like, it was obvious she had never had that before. Okay. But what was also obvious was that she was in alignment with her mind, body, and spirit. And so when you attempt to love people with your mind, body, and spirit, you're going to get one of three outcomes. If you love them with just your heart, you're going to be foolish, because you will miss obvious things that your mind should see because your heart is in the lead. Just making sense to anybody? If you're loving people and you're leading solely with your heart, and your heart is out front, and you're not balancing it out with your mind and your body, you're going to be foolish, right? That's when they cheat on you 6 times and you keep overlooking it. Why? Because you love them, or you love her, right? Or they disrespect you over and over and over again, but you keep overlooking it. Why? Because you love them. The Bible says that the heart is deceitful and exceptionally wicked, which means the heart can fool you. So if you're going to love people with heart, mind, body, and spirit, or heart, mind, and spirit, heart can be involved, but it can't be so way out front that it's not balanced. So that's one scenario. If you love people with just your mind out front, then every way you evaluate them will be based on how much it makes sense to you. This is so good. And y'all, can I say this? I don't know if y'all are going to agree with this. If you do, I want you to just fill it up with hearts. How many of you can be honest and admit with me that sometimes love don't make sense? Anybody got that testimony? That sometimes love and even what you like and what you're attracted to, it don't even really make sense sometimes. And does that make anybody else ever felt like that? Good, I'm seeing a few hearts. That's because sometimes your mind, when your mind is leading the way, what makes sense to your mind may not necessarily align with your heart or with your body, right? And so when your mind is out front, yes, it's got some positive benefits, right? When you're leading in love with your mind, then folk ain't gonna just say anything to you, because your mind gonna be like, no, you're not talking to me like that. Or folk ain't gonna just run over you, because your mind will be like, no, you ain't gonna handle me like that. But if your heart isn't involved, then you can be so headstrong in the relationship that you lose an emotional connection with the person that you're in, because you're only handling them with your mind and you don't have enough of your heart in it. Let me give you the best example that I can tell you with this. If you ever seen the movie, what's the movie where Big Mama dies? Big Mama dies. There's a stash of money she has. Come on, y'all. And they eat Sunday dinner. My girl Nia Long's in it. Anybody live on the live, you can tell me the name of this movie. Where Big Mama's in it. Soul Food. That's it. Soul Food. In the movie Soul Food, I think it's such and such Williams. I can't remember her first name. The lady that's the attorney. Pretty lady with the green eyes. That's the attorney. In Soul Food. She was the attorney. She had all the money. She had the great job. She had
the guy that was her husband, that was the musician, that ends up sleeping with the young girl in the family, right? Vanessa Williams, that's it. Vanessa Williams is what you get when you lead with your mind, but you don't have heart or body involved, right? Where everything in the relationship is transactional and there's not enough emotion or connection involved. Is this making sense, y'all? There's not enough emotion or connection. Liam, that's it. That's what it was, Liam, right? There's not enough emotion and emotional connection with it. So when you do that, you become a Vanessa Williams, where your connection with people is about what they're giving to you that's tangible and what they ain't giving to you that's tangible, right? So that's the second scenario. And we saw how that ended, right? She had a good heart, but everything was about making sense. And her husband didn't need that. He needed an emotional connection. And I'm not condoning what he did to that girl on that piano. But what I am saying is, I ain't surprised. I'm not surprised, because he was in a situation where there was not alignment with mind, body, and spirit. Y'all don't like the way I'm teaching this, right? And then there's scenario 3. Scenario 1, you lead with your heart. We know that outcome. Scenario 2, you lead with your mind. You know that outcome. Scenario 3, when you lead with your body, I think that's obvious. Look at y'all, church quiet. I think that's when you lead with your body in a relationship, throw your mind out the window, throw your heart out the window. At that point, you just become numb. You don't even care about the future. You ain't even thinking about the future. You're just so caught up in the moment that you ain't thinking about now. You are allowing your body and what you want to experience in the present moment to lead you. We all know the outcome to that. And so I believe that those 3 things have to be aligned. And many of you, I want to challenge you tonight to think about trying something different. Because many of you have made love and relationship and connection, friendship selections based on one of those 3 things leading the way solely, and it's not been in balance. And that, combined with what you naturally like, has thrown off your choices. It has thrown off your ability to make good choices. And so you need to try something different. Boaz was not like what Ruth was used to. And I'm going to tell you tonight, and I want to end with this. You need to challenge what you like, especially if you have patterns of dysfunction. That's your last word tonight. You need to challenge what you like, especially if in your life you have patterns of dysfunction. Pattern. What's a pattern? It's something that happens over a cycle. It's something that happens over and over again. If you have patterns or cycles of dysfunction in your life, you need to do something different. You need to try something different. You need to date a different kind of woman, fellas. If you got these same cycles of dysfunction, the relationships all end the same way. They all fall apart the same way. Ladies, you need to date a different guy. If the last 6 relationships you had, they all ended the same exact way, and all 6 of those guys had similar qualities. Try something different. Try something different. And people read the story of Ruth and Naomi and Boaz, and they get certain things. But what I get when I read this story, as wisdom and maturity really settles in on me, what I get is a woman who was so impressed by this man in the field that he had, that it was clear to her that what Boaz was offering was unlike anything she ever had. And let me tell y'all something. When you get offered something that is unlike anything you've ever had, and it's the right thing, it'll make you do things you've never done. Y'all heard me Sunday. She was calling this man Lord. Boaz had her calling him Lord because he was offering her something she had never seen before. He was offering her something she had never pursued before. And so you got to challenge what you like. If you're going to have productive friendships in your life, if you're going to have productive relationships with family members in your life, if you're going to have productive romantic relationships in your life, marriages, You've got to challenge and do something different. I want to say something, especially to all of you married people as well. Listen to me. Take my advice on this. If you marry, you need to challenge yourself to try different things sometimes too. Don't get so comfortable in your marriage that you settle in a routine where you go to the same restaurants, you order the same food, you hang out on the same nights a week at the same day at the same time, and then wonder why there's no spark in your marriage. You try something different. I'm trying to help y'all. You need to try something different. Do something different. Fellas, stop taking her to that same restaurant that you take her to every single week and be shocked when she's bored or don't want to do nothing with you. She don't want to exercise with you. You can't be surprised. She's in a routine. Try something different. Ladies, I know men are creatures of habit. I get it. A lot of men are of such. A lot of them are of such where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You can give a lot of men the same food and feed them the same food every week. And if you cook good, they'll eat the same thing every week. A lot of men. But there are a lot of men that have worked on themselves, that are advanced, and doggone it, they want to try something different sometimes. Are y'all listening to me? Because if not, y'all, sometimes we blame dysfunction on people, y'all, when really we have created these cycles of dysfunction because we have not been willing to step out and do something different. What do I think about scheduling? I'm going to answer this. And by the way, I didn't announce this earlier. Don't forget the scripture for the week. You all should be reading your scripture for the week, which is 1 Peter chapter 4. Your scripture for the week is 1 Peter chapter 4. I didn't announce that earlier. And don't forget, Sunday is a children's church Sunday virtually, which means if you're tuning in Sunday, put some headphones on the kids. Don't play the broadcast over your car radio because they're not going to be able to hear what I'm going to teach about. Because we're going to deal with exercise on Sunday. Because exercise, and y'all know what exercise stands for. Exercise has been killing many of y'all's ability to have loving relationships because you've been leading with exercise. You've been making decisions based on exercise and not stuff you should be basing it on. So Sunday is going to be wild. I'm just telling you now, put the kids up. Now, I see a question here that says, sidebar, what do you think about scheduling exercise? I think that is very Vanessa Williams-like. Vanessa Williams soul food. I think that is very Vanessa Williams soul food like. Now, can it work? Maybe for some folks, if a Vanessa Williams is married to another person that's a Vanessa Williams like them, then it might work out for them. I found in my own experience with just people in general, not talking about that, but just people in general, that typically people that I'm connected to that act like me get on my nerves after a while. Right? So I've never really done well being around people who act just like me. Right? That gives credence to the whole thing. Opposites attract. I believe in that. I think when you connect with people that ain't just like you, it helps to spark attraction. When you connect with somebody that's just like you, eventually y'all gonna end up fighting. Okay. So I guess it could work for some people, but I don't think that's a great practice. I don't think that's a great practice because it kills spontaneity, right? That scheduling exercise to me would be reflective of people who lead with their mind, right? And I think you should pull that into some balance so that things don't become mundane or routine. And I'm going to deal with this on Sunday because some of you men really need a wake-up call in this area. This is going to be bad. Sunday is going to be so bad. I might get canceled Sunday. They might cancel me Sunday. But I'm going to just deal with this because y'all, churches don't talk about this and need to talk about it because you look around, folks still get knocked up. Pandemic over, folks still get knocked up. So folks are doing the do. But this needs to be said. And some of you men need to really hear this because you wonder why women get bored with your exercise or don't want to do it as much. And they hit you with this, well, I'm tired stuff. No, they ain't that tired. Some of them are giving you that response because you do the same things with them the same way over and over and over again. and you get and you don't realize that that's unattractive and a turnoff to a woman. I know I'm about to lose a whole lot of y'all. That's unattractive to a woman. That doesn't turn a woman off. What turns a woman on physically and via exercise and what turns a man on are two totally different things. Y'all not talking to me tonight. It are two totally different things. And so here you are showing up at exercise the same way every week and shocked when she start hitting you with, man, I got a headache. She ain't got no headache. she don't have no headache. She's bored. It doesn't mean sometimes she may not have a headache. Y'all get the point I'm making, right? She ain't got no headache every time. She's bored. Now, ladies, you ain't too far off. While y'all getting excited and talk about man down, this and man there, y'all not too far off. Because some of you get connected to your routine too. And what you do, and you cease from being open-minded. Or you lose your or you lose your element of surprise. It's so crazy how I just got to remember where I am. It's so crazy how women, many of you meet your man, becomes your husband, whatever, or whatever, maybe he doesn't. But you meet him, and when you first meet him, y'all exercising everywhere. I'm about to get in trouble. Y'all know what exercise. Y'all exercise everywhere. You're all in the car. You all on the balcony. You swinging off chandeliers. You exercise everywhere. And then when you get comfortable, you forget everything that you did when you first started exercising. Y'all don't like the way I'm talking here. So both men and women can fall in this trap. And that's why it is important that you're only involved with people like that when you are healthy and whole enough to do it. Because if you are not, when people change or they get stuck in a rut or a routine, you won't have the maturity to be able to communicate to them what you need. You won't have the maturity to be able to stay faithful to that situation when it would be easy and convenient to step out and get it from somebody who's willing. Y'all don't like the way I'm teaching tonight. Is this making sense to anybody? Y'all, I'm out of time. I got to wrap this up. I'm out of time. Sunday is going to be a riot. All I can say is that Sunday is going to be a riot because we're going to talk about exercise, submission, and soul ties. That's the name of the message for Sunday. Exercise, or the other word, right? Exercise is the 3 S's. Exercise, submission, and soul ties. Coming Sunday. Y'all already know it's going to be 2 parts. It's going to be wild. Put the kids up. But I hope this is making sense, y'all. Yeah, y'all going to need a lot of time Sunday. I might even cut through a lot of the declaration. I don't think I've ever done this since we've been online. Soul ties are real dangerous. But these things are all connected. Soul ties, submission, and exercise are all connected. Because some of y'all are submitting to folk that you got soul ties to. And the reason you got those soul ties is because of how you exercise with them. And some of you, if you stop exercising with people, it would eliminate your soul tie. I'm really going to connect these 3 things right here. And y'all gonna be like, oh my God. Yeah. Because I don't know a lot of people that got soul ties that also don't have submission and exercise challenges too. You ain't just got soul ties with people and you ain't exercising with them. I've yet to meet a person come to me in counseling and coaching and say, Doc, I got a soul tie with this person. I can't drop this person. I can't get this. I can't move beyond this person. And they have not been exercising with them. Or they haven't been submitting to them, man or woman. Because men, when men are in soul ties, men become submissive to women. This is gonna be let me stop. I gotta stop. This and they throw their purpose away, they throw their careers away, and all they think about, what can I do to please her? What can I do to please her? And you don't even realize that while on the one side she thinks it's cute, over time it becomes unattractive because you have given up your purpose, and the only main interest you have is pursuing her. And no woman of quality, let me just give y'all a preview right now. No woman of quality wants a man who puts her above his purpose. You welcome, fellas. I'm going to say it again. No woman of quality wants a man who puts her over his purpose. Now, she may tell you she do. Why don't you not go to work today and stay home? And she might say that. But let me tell you something. You can get away with that one time, maybe twice. After about time 4 or 5, she can be like, you going to work today? Let's just pray. Y'all don't want this. This is going to be, Sunday going to be crazy. Sunday's going to be, Sunday might be one of the best series we've ever had. Y'all ain't gonna say, man, that's why y'all laughing. V on here, LOL, and y'all know I'm telling the truth. Don't make bingo. And that's the point, bunch. Once or twice is good, but see, men get caught up in the trap. And this is why I'm gonna have a serious conversation with men and women Sunday about what exercise does, because exercise impacts both of you two totally different ways. It impacts men and women two totally different ways. Y'all, let's just pray. Y'all type in your prayer requests. I gotta stop. I'm way over. Just type in your prayer request. If you got a prayer request, I want you to type in your prayer request. You can email it to info@REHABCC.org. Sunday is gonna be crazy. I can't wait to teach Sunday. Man, I'm excited, man. I'm gonna need about an hour, 40 minutes. I'm gonna need it. It's just, it's just, I need you to show up Sunday. I need you to invite some people, because we're gonna deal with exercise. Y'all know the word, submission, and soul ties. Some of y'all, especially you women, are out here submitting to people that you really don't even love. You just got to tie with them. You've been doing it. You've been tied to them for so long that you doing wife stuff to people that you really don't even love like that. But because you are so intertwined with them from an exercise standpoint, you're confusing good exercise and the feelings that come with that. And you're confusing having somebody with being in love with somebody. And having somebody and being in love with somebody are two totally different things. Y'all, I need to stop, because I'm ready to go, like right now. Are y'all listening to me? All right. So listen, I want to pray. Thank you for that prayer request, Sister Kiana. Please pray for Pastor. Pastor need it. I swear, because I don't know why God made me like this, but he did. And I'm grateful for it. I wouldn't want to be nobody else but me. No, nobody. Y'all, connect your hands like this is a sign and symbol of faith. If you got a prayer request, type it in while I'm praying, and then just jump in the prayer. I've got to go, y'all. It's 8:49. It's late. I didn't mean to keep y'all this long, but this has just been crazy. Let's pray. Father, in Jesus' name, thank you tonight for your word. This time of gathering you've given us. It's my prayer that something was shared tonight that has encouraged somebody in a special way. Help us, God, to make better decisions when life starts lifing in our lives. Help us, God, to recenter our focus on ourselves and our purpose, on ourselves and on our work, so that we may go in the direction of everything you called us to be, and then some. God, I pray tonight for every prayer request of your people, every prayer request that's in the hearts and the minds of people that maybe didn't get a chance to type tonight. or in the hearts and minds of those that are watching this replay, that you would answer their prayers in a special way, in a significant way. God, let this week be a week that is filled with not only just love, but that's filled with breakthrough and miracles and open doors. Allow this to be a week where people experience supernatural favor from you, favor in their careers and in their health and in their families and in their finances, in their children, in their spouses, in their friends. Help us to experience favor this week like only you can. And God, position us to be as healthy and as whole as possible, so that when the blessings do come, when the miracles do come, we don't drop the things that you placed in our spirits. But we want to be strong enough and equipped enough to be able to carry what it is that you have planned for us, that you've designed for our lives. I thank you again, God, for a week filled with miracles, open doors, made ways, met needs, granted promises and expectations as only you can. We count these things done, and we believe you for them. In Jesus' name, amen. Do me a favor. I want you to type in the comments tonight, it is so. If you prayed that prayer of faith, I want you to type in the comments tonight, it is so. Listen, y'all, I'm grateful for y'all. I love y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. Y'all know the ways to give. I'm not going to even go through that tonight. Cash App, $REHABCC give, website, www.rehabcc.org. Or you can text Rehab Works to 336, what is it? 336-642-3210. Y'all know the ways to give tonight. Feel free to give tonight as you've been inspired to give. I've run way over and I didn't mean to do that. But I love y'all. I'm praying for you. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I love you. If nobody told you today, I hope I was the first one to be able to tell you that I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. I want you to have a tremendous week. And again, make plans to join us. Tune in Thursday for the scripture for the week. And then make plans to join us Sunday for exercise, submission, and soul ties. It's going to be crazy. And my goal Sunday is to make everybody on the call, on the broadcast, as mad as I can make you. I'm coming for everybody. I ain't friends with nobody Sunday. I'm going to give you the truth, and it's going to be up to you to apply it to your life. And I'm excited about it. Love y'all, praying for y'all, rooting for y'all. Have a fantastic week. Peace and blessings. And I will see you on Sunday. I love y'all.